Alright, so this is definitely a different video for what I usually make. I mean, sure, I've made these before, people don't seem to care about them, but I'll go again, I'll shoot my shot, because there are some things I just want to talk about. I did a TWAB video the other week, where I talked about the PvP changes. And to give you context to what I'm about to talk about, we need to go all the way back to Destiny 2, when it came out. There were a lot of people who liked the competitive Halo feelness, and there were a lot of people who disliked it. In most regard, most people didn't like it. So, Bungie, in Curse of Osiris, the second DLC, aka Season 2, whatever you want to call it, they decided to give us an update called the Go Fast update, right? You probably can guess what that was. It was increased movement speed, increased weapon damage, and a lot of PvP balance changes, right? That was a pretty good update. But the fact that we were still rocking double primary didn't really benefit a lot, because people loved their shotgun gameplay in PvP, or hitting all those snipes, you know? But that was not an option, unless you rocked a heavy weapon, of course, which was snipers, fusion rifles, shotguns, rockets, you know, the whole package. And then you had primary weapons, which were the other half. But over the few years, Bungie has slowly but surely been making sure that this doesn't happen again. They've given us a lot of buffs, they've given us special and primary, even double special, which wasn't even the case in Destiny 1, unless you rocked some funny exotic. But ever since 30th anniversary came out, it's been going pretty downhill. So, let's just start off with saying, PvP was in a pretty good shape until 30th anniversary. The reason I'm saying this now is because 30th anniversary was the first big step towards Doom. You've probably seen all the thumbnails from Frostbolt, Astacross, I don't know, Wallace probably made a video, you know, all the YouTubers have made a video, MTash has even made a video about why the game doesn't feel good. And I am agreeing with most of what they said. I haven't even watched half the video, so I can't tell you all of it, but in short, they're lacking gameplay. And ever since Bungie split with Activision, there's been a lot more focus in story, which is probably what Bungie wants to, but there's been a lot less focus in gameplay. So, you know how I said in my other video, how Bungie thinks we are literally watching a game show, or a series or whatever, and wants us to come on and play 20 minutes for a day, or whatever, how long the episode wants to last, and then log off again until next reset. That's the state I feel like the game is currently in. Which, I mean, it doesn't hold a consistent player base, or a fan base for that matter, right? The fact is, when 30th anniversary came out, they did actually a lot of good changes, but also a bad change. And that was a red flag in my book, because it was slight nerf. So people probably don't even care about it anymore, probably don't even notice it, but shotguns, or sliding, was nerfed back in 30th anniversary. They increased pellet spread on shotties, they increased flinch when sliding, and yeah, it's definitely not a good change, which kinda goes against Bungie's goal, making gunplay feel good. And then in the later year when Witch Queen came out, they did another very big red flag, which was the airborne effectiveness changes, right? The AE changes, they're not good, which also goes against what Bungie was saying. They're always working for gameplay, gunplay, right? Gunplay is the key, but I mean, if you're making these stupid changes with a half-finished product and nerfing shotguns because people like to move around, then, I mean, I don't know what you want to know. Because majority of the player base are using shotguns doesn't mean they're busted. A lot of skill was actually used to use those back in the day, how you had to have perfect movement to absolutely annihilate your enemies. But sure, instead of this, instead of giving us good gun gameplay, they have decided to increase ability spam to the max. You used to have stasis, but that's pretty balanced nowadays, so they're buffing it. But you have Void 3.0, Arc 3.0, and Solar 3.0. Probably the three worst things Bungie could have done. Giving Titans Knockout Juggernaut, or Knockout and Grenade Spam. Who thought that was a good idea? Or giving Hunters Infinite Invis. Who thought that was a good idea? Or giving Warlocks a slide that would literally fuck anyone up that comes close. Who thought that was a good idea? You can spam a lot more abilities now than you used to, and it's not even just noticed in PvP. It's also very noticeable in PvE. You can literally just run a GM without even worrying. You just spam nades the whole GM. That's how I farmed my Mindbenders. I literally just threw grenades. in a Grandmaster. That's supposed to be the hardest content in the game. And I was just sitting there using my abilities only. Which I mean is a pretty red flag in my eyes. It should be a lot more about can you do more DPS instead of spamming abilities, you know? But yeah, it's pretty sad. So you have a lot of red flags here. You have the slight changes, you have the basically Bungie's removing movement and giving us more long-range maps where there's literally nothing happening. You're probably watching gameplay right now of Disjunction against a laggy Titan. Yeah. That was not fun. And personally, I just want Bungie to go in a better direction for PvP as a whole and PvE as a whole. Instead of focusing so much on story, you need to focus more on gameplay. Sure, you're making a new subclass, but is that all we're getting for Lightfall? That's all you've talked about. We're getting a new area, but sure, we always get a new area with an expansion, you know? See, the problem about what Bungie's doing is we're getting new subclasses, which is gonna lead to more issues. You saw what happened when Stasis came out. Pretty bad. And I'm not against the idea of new subclasses, right? I'm against the idea of things that just makes the game way too easy. I want a kinda challenging and difficult experience. 3-manning raids isn't hard, you can get carried through it. Most raids are 3-manable, which is pretty crazy to me. Actually, all raids are. That's in the game. The only one that I can think of that wasn't 3-manable was Spire of Stars. And yeah, and Bungie removes good gameplay. That's, for example, Menagerie, Reckoning, you have Forges, you have raids that was actually fun to play, good strikes, and in my eyes it's pretty good. Cool locations. Sure, they did it because the game was too big, quote unquote. And yes, it was pretty big, 120 gigabytes, but that's just another update to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. But, I mean, you're getting the point. Bungie's been doing a lot of bad things over the year after they started recovering. They made a horrible game at launch, then they repaired it slightly with Forsaken, which should have been what it was at launch, and then they gave us Shadowkeep, which was pretty mid, and then they gave us Beyond Light with alright gameplay. They had some changes, aka giving us aim smoothing. Did you know that? If you go into your game files when Beyond Light came out, it would show Bungie had increased aim smoothing in the files. The only way to change it was in the game files, which that is not a good thing. That means basically your aim becomes more inconsistent. Pretty interesting to me. This is a PC thing, of course, but that was a change they made. And Bungie is also benefiting more over the controller gameplay than mouse and keyboard gameplay. In my eyes, that's fine, because most of the people who play the game are on controller anyway. But at some point, I just want PC lobbies, and a good connection-based lobby. For example, most people I lose to are controller players. Sure, you can call that whatever you want. But when I watch the VOD back on Guardian Theater, and see him literally not moving, using his overshield with a Teraba that you can't push. Do you think that's pretty fun to play against? And of course, if you literally push him, you're gonna get insta-killed by his Teraba, because controller people don't miss shots, at least in the good rackets. You can say the same about PC, but there's a lot less of them than there are controller players. There's a higher chance you match a good controller player than a good mouse and keyboard player. Just how it is, kinda. How I feel like it is. But yeah, there's a lot of changes I want to see. Bungie is also releasing a competitive game mode next season. I'm excited for it, but I hope there's some big changes coming to PvP gameplay, not PvP game modes. You see what I'm saying? There's very specific wording I'm using right here. Game mode and gameplay are two different things. What I want, this is my personal things, I want a ability nerf, I want better gun gameplay, aka revert the slide and AE changes. That's really all. And yeah, try to keep more skillful weapons in the pool, like sidearms. Yeah, good change, Bungie. What an amazing change. I know I might sound a little bit pissed, but you get the point. If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, I love you guys. Goodbye. And also, if you like my content, don't forget to join my Discord. And yeah, I would appreciate a like and subscribe as well. I mean, maybe face reveal at 10k, or maybe not.